In addition to promoting your meetings, attracting members, we also need to work with members. We want to be able to manage our agenda through the website. And so we set this up initially in the demo by filling out some choices on the wizard, but I'm going to show you how you can make deeper changes here. Now, on a routine basis, you can come in and you can sign up for a role. Or if you're the Toastmaster of the day, you may be getting phone calls or people communicating with you in other ways that they're not able to make a role. And so you need to go in and edit roles on the agenda. But what about when you need to restructure the whole agenda because somebody is giving a longer speech? Or maybe you want to change the whole model that you use on a weekly basis of how your meetings are organized. So I'm going to get into how to do that. First, I need to talk about an important concept, which is the difference between your meeting events and your event template. And I try and use the analogy of the cookie cutter. Your template is the cookie cutter. It stamps out identical copies. You can decorate them all differently. You can put different sprinkles on top. Those are the roles and the speeches that are assigned for each meeting. But this is a magic cookie cutter because we can go back to our template later and bend it into a slightly different shape, and we can magically update all the events or most of the events. We can do it selectively as well that were based on that original template. So let me show you first through the RSVP Maker site. RSVP Maker is the calendar component in WordPress for Toastmasters. If we go into our dashboard under events, there is an events template section. So I'm going to show you first how this would work for more of a marketing oriented event. But suppose we have a regular meetup of WordPress enthusiasts. This is what it looks like in the editor. Now we know we're in a template because instead of giving us a meeting date, it's saying this is an organization that meets every Thursday and it meets at 7 p.m. And we can make changes to this template. We can maybe decide that that's going to be aligned to the right instead of the left. We'll update that. And when I do, it gives me a little prompt up top here that says, we're in a template. Do you want to create a new event based on this template? Do you want to create or update all your events that are based on that template? So if for now evermore, we want the logo to appear on the right, we would check this off. It's showing me all the other projected dates along the schedule. We can add those all as a batch. Or doing it for real, we might look through more carefully to see if some of those dates are holidays, things like that, where we wouldn't be meeting. So the same principle is going to apply to your Toastmasters meeting events, but there are more things that I'm going to need to show you about that. Anyways, we've updated these all. We can go out and view one of these to confirm that the logo is now displayed over to the right. Now, just because this was based on a template doesn't mean that it has to stay identical. We can go in and edit this, and a common reason we would edit it is to add the name of a special speaker who's going to be at our next event. And you would do the same sort of thing with your Toastmasters events. So now let's go into how we would edit this Toastmasters meeting. So again, when I'm logged in and I have editing rights at the top, I will see edit links for whatever document I'm working with, a blog post or an event. So this is edit RSVP events, and there are some sub-menu items underneath that. But let's just go into edit the event. And so here we can see that instead of marketing copy and images, we have these widgets. In Toastmasters terminology, they're known as blocks, different content blocks that represent activities on the agenda, such as take a 5-minute break. So that is a note block, or role blocks are associated with roles in our meeting. So we can move these things around. We can change them as we need to. Now, similar to what I was showing you with the other, it's warning me that if I think I'm making a change to the whole event series, I'm just working in the template. So click here if what you really want to do is edit the template. But there are a lot of times where you want to make changes for just an individual meeting. And there are actually a couple of different ways we can do that. So I'm going to save this one, but then I am going to click through to editing the template because that's probably more typically what you would want to do. So we can see that this is kind of messed up. We've got the 5-minute break happening at the beginning of the meeting. I don't think that makes sense. But we have a few different content blocks in here. We also have, in addition to the note, we have one that's called an editable note. So both types of notes can have time associated with them. The difference with the editable note is it can be edited on the front end, and it's meant to be a way that you can make meeting specific customizations without getting into editing on the back end. It can be done by a Toastmaster of the day who may not have editing rights to go in and edit pages or blog posts or agendas at a deeper level. So this editable note is just called Welcome and Introductions, and that'll appear as a headline. But underneath that, on a per meeting basis, we can add something like the area director is going to be visiting with us, and she's going to require a little bit of time to speak. I'll show you that more in a moment. If we wanted to add an additional role to this meeting, for example, we want to have a humorist, I can search using Toastmasters as a keyword to see the different components that I can add to the agenda. So agenda role is where I'm adding a role. A sign-up form note only appears on the sign-up form. It doesn't appear on the agenda. So this is actually one document that works as both your sign-up form and as your agenda. An agenda note would be something like we're going to take a 5-minute break. An editable note I just discussed. A milestone is only used for a couple of things like the end of the meeting. And there is also a widget you can add where people can record that they plan to be absent for an upcoming meeting. So if we add a role, it gives us a choice of picking from a list of standard Toastmasters roles. I do have humorist on the list, but you might have something, maybe you have a humorist, but you call it the joke master. So we'll say custom role, and we'll put in the name of our custom role. And then on the right here, there's a count. So for speakers and evaluators, typically the count would be some multiple. So 3 speakers, 3 evaluators, something like that. We'll only have one joke master, and we give him 5 minutes on the agenda. Now for planning out the time, I'm going to show you in a moment, there's maybe an easier way of doing that. But I can update this. And again, as I showed you with the marketing-oriented template, it's going to prompt me, do we want to update everything that's based on this template? Well, yes. So we've decided that we're now going to have a joke master at all our meetings. So it shows me the things that are already in the system for these projected dates. And I can check off that I want to replace all of them. But maybe one of these I've made a customization that I want to keep. And it's warning me that this has been modified independently of the template. So I can take that one off the list, but then update all the rest. So when we go out and look at this, we'll see that there's now a joke master role that I can sign up for. Another way to get back into editing the template is if you go to this menu at the top, the edit menu. If it's based on a template, there'll be an edit template option. So this would be a way of getting back to that view. Now, I mentioned that there was an easier way of planning out the time associated with an agenda, because when you're editing them here, you're seeing them individually, but you don't sort of see it how it all fits together. So for an overview, we can follow this link to the Agenda Time Planner. And the Time Planner is set up so that we can see how the times add up. And we can see when our meeting ends if we follow this plan. And if we've added too much time by adding the joke master into the mix, then maybe we have to subtract someplace else. So the joke master is here, or maybe we actually want to give him 10 minutes. And you'll see that as I change the time allocated to the joke master, the item following changes also. So now our meeting ends at 7:29. May we give the Toastmaster of the day one more minute. And now we have a meeting planned to end at exactly 7:30. Now that doesn't mean that your meeting will run like clockwork, but it's an ideal and it's a guideline so that if you have your paper agenda or you have it up on screen, you can see, uh-oh, we spent too much time on introductions, and we're going to run late if we don't tighten things up. So maybe we better shorten our usual break, that sort of thing. So when I click update here, the same prompt to say, do I want to create and update all my events based on this template? Yes, I do want to update all those times. And we're back here at the point of updating all our agendas. Now, we also might want to do that on an individual basis for a meeting where we have a special activity planned. So I mentioned the example where the area leader is visiting. I'll update that, and now I have that prompt here that will appear also on the printable agenda. Now I can go into the time planner for this individual meeting. So it's also available from that menu up top. It tells me I'm making changes to a single event, and that's okay because that's what I want here. And we can say that for this particular meeting, since we need more time up front, we're going to need to take out the joke master. And for welcome and introductions, we actually need 15 minutes. And that should mean that our meeting is still scheduled to end at 7:30. So I can update those times, and now I have a clean and mean and well-organized meeting ready to go.